Anime Cafe Podcast Episode 1.
Nii-chan, how do you like your coffee?
I like my coffee how I like my anime. Bible Black. Hello everybody and welcome to the Anime Cafe Podcast Episode 1. My name is Anton. I like Hawaiian shirts and Hawaiian punch.
And my name is Kepes and I'm an alcoholic.
And bringing you here on this show, we will be... That was the most broken English ever, but what we'll be bringing you here on this show is anime reviews, news, show reviews, video game news, convention news, whatever kind of news and reviews we feel like bringing. I just wanted to say like stuff that rhymes with ooze. Shoes.
Booze?
Booze,
Sorry.
yeah.
Alcoholic in me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should start this show off just with a little bit of what's been going on lately, since whatever news I've talked about is probably a little bit outdated. But the biggest thing that everybody's talking about right now is Persona 5. And I know, Keeps, you are a huge fan of the Persona series, more so than I am. I'm a fan. You're like a mega fan.
I actually sleep with Persona 4 under my pillow, and I hold a copy of Persona 3 in my arms and pretend they're whispering sweet nothings in my ear.
Who is your favorite girl from all the Persona games?
I have a problem.
Which one of the biddies did you have a huge crush on?
Yukari. Hands down.
Yukari was your girl with her lame little bow?
All I did was try and have sex with Yukari the first game. I was literally like, I didn't even know what social links were the first time I played it, and I was just like, can I have sex with this girl?
No, dude, all you can do is spend the night playing cards.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she really liked blackjack. It was great.
See, spending the night, anytime they say that they spent the night together and doesn't show me what they did that night, I'm going to assume that they were getting it on and they were getting freaky and there was something really inappropriate going on for kids their age, which we'll get to later with our show review today. Well, it's more like a movie review, but still, Persona, the new main character looks like Harry Potter. How do you feel about that?
Well, I actually liked it. When I first saw it, I was a little bit confused because to me he looks older, but I'm not really the best judge of age. But I actually liked the look. I thought it was pretty cool. I like the disheveled hair, and it's definitely pretty different.
I like his like turtleneck sweater, because you know the best time to wear a turtleneck sweater is all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and really tried to bring that out. They understood that.
Yeah, dude, it's like mega important to look fly as hell when you're on the train and then see a fire or whatever. Like, what was that fire that he was seeing? I was like, what is this? What is going on? Can we get some consistency in a Persona game?
Oh, sorry about the technical difficulties. I got a little bit crazy, and needless to say, there's Smirnoff on my router.
Keeps you wily son of a bitch. All right, well, we were talking about Persona. I was talking smack about there being no continuity between the three of them. But whatever, screw it. Let's move on. Keeps, tell the wonderful anime peeps. See, for Keeps, it's the anime peeps. For me, I don't know. Antoine taking a scantron with his fly-ass pants on. Tell the people,
that should be your nickname.
It should be my nickname.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, it just says, yo, it's Antoine taking a scantron with his fly-ass pants on.
And then I'll just be like, and I'm Keeps.
Yeah, but why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself with like anime, what your favorite shows are, favorite genres, least favorite genres, just anything you feel that's pertinent.
Well, obviously I'm Keeps. I'd say I started watching anime when I was a kid with Pokemon, but didn't really know it was anime at the time. And then the first time, can really say I watched it like outside of anything generic like Pokemon or Digimon was watching Adult Swim in 6th grade whenever I couldn't go to sleep. I'd see it's Detective Conan, but case closed on Adult Swim. And I remember that I used to try and stay awake for it and watch it every time because I love that show. So I'd say I really got into anime.
Dude, that show was on at like 3 a.m, I remember. It was impossible.
I may or may not have been deathly afraid of the dark to the point that I was afraid to go to sleep. So
dude, it was
not intentional.
Adult Swim was brutal with their shows. They're like, dude, you want to watch this anime? All right. I hope you have no life like everybody else that watches anime.
I watched FLCL too, and I had no idea what was going on, but somehow I was just like, I'm gonna keep watching the show, and I didn't realize it was only 6 episodes. And every time I'd see something and think I missed like something completely drastic, or like what there was like 20 more episodes, and I'd get excited, and then I'd see the same episode because they just keep repeating it.
Mm-hmm. Did they play Cowboy Bebop and stuff back then? I don't remember.
I don't remember if it was during the time I was watching it, but I know that they did used to play Cowboy Bebop.
When I first started watching Adult Swim, I remember there being Dot Hack Sign. I do remember FLCL. I remember Paranoia Agent. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else that stuck out to me back then. But like I remember Cowboy Bebop being on around that time, but I'm not 100% sure. Because like Toonami was on back then too. And there was like Rurouni Kenshin. What else? Yu Yu Hakusho, stuff like that. I'm sure you watched all that.
Actually, yeah, come to think of it, even earlier than Detective Conan, I believe that I used to watch Yu Yu Hakusho with my brother at night when it was on, and then I remember because it switched to Toonami, and they would cut out the swearing or change the wording so that they wouldn't swear. And I remember that if you look in the English dub of Yu Yu Hakusho, the language completely changes from like the first half to the second half, because you can tell they were trying to broadcast it more towards the younger audience.
Yeah, I think Gundam was on back then too. I don't remember which one. There's been so many Gundams, I can't keep up anymore. I used to be into it. I can't do it anymore. It's too hard. Talk to me when I was like 10. I could name off all the different Gundams. I used to make the models. Oh my god, not now.
Oh, that was Zoids for me. 6 in the morning.
Oh, dude,
every
Zoids.
day.
Yeah, dude, Zoids, and then the one with like the Liger Zero or whatever, because there was the blue yep. Zoids one, and then, or was it blue? Was it blue or purple? I'm colorblind, by the way, guys.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that God didn't really want.
Yeah. There was the blue Liger, and then there was the white Liger. Which one did you like better?
White Liger. That was my boy.
Screw you. Blue Liger was way better because it had like that one dude with the like Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever Zoid, and I was so into that. I could not get enough. But no, those shows were great. They were on super, like Beyblade. That was some terrible anime.
Oh, I loved Beyblade when I was a kid. I can't even lie.
I was super into Beyblade. I used to buy the Beyblades and be like, Beyblade battle me.
Oh, we used to do that. We did that in 5th grade, and I remember we didn't have the little dome to use as arena, and we tried to do it on the concrete outside. And we like spun them off, and they just sit there, and we try and like blow them so they'd like hit each other.
You guys probably looked like you were like You guys probably looked like you were gambling or something. You're standing there like all leaning over these toys, blowing on them and stuff like that. They're like, what are these cracked out kids doing?
And when they didn't hit each other, it was literally just like, man, what do we buy these for? And then we got the dome, and then it was cool for about 5 minutes, and then it was like, okay, it's pretty much just.
Because in the anime, they had special powers. They could like summon a tiger or something out of their Beyblade, and their Beyblades would last for like 45 minutes. These things in real life would last 45 seconds.
Oh yeah, and the worst part was that my 5th grade mind, for some reason, thought that buying a Beyblade and then mixing the parts with other ones would create some actual special power, and when it didn't, and I realized it was basically like a $20 dreidel, I was very disappointed.
Hey man, don't talk shit about dreidels. I'm Jewish.
Look, I'm sorry, but if the Jews used Beyblades, I would be a lot more interested.
That actually would be so cool. No offense to any Jews. I would be so into that if, like, growing up, instead of dreidels, they would have given me Beyblades. I would have been the best Jew this planet has ever seen. I would grow.
You would be running a synagogue right now.
I would be a rabbi, like, in a heartbeat if it meant I got to play with Beyblades for the rest of my life. Like, the real Beyblade masters are actually, like, all the Jews, and they're just keeping it from everybody. They're like, yeah, Beyblades are real. You can actually do all that crap in the anime. Those stupid Japanese people knew what we were doing. They figured us out.
Oh, yeah, the unaired season of Beyblade, the last one, is actually where the Jews just take over.
Beyblade, the circumcision.
Oh, God.
Did you used to watch Digimon? Did you prefer Digimon over Pokemon?
Ooh, honestly, yeah. I'd have to say I prefer Digimon. Granted, as far as I remember, I can't remember which one I watched first, but I remember that Digimon was cool to me because they had the little bot, well, I don't know what they were called, but they were like little squares, almost like the Tomodachi.
The the Digivolver thingies, whatever. Yeah, it was in every season. They had them. The
Yeah, and like you could
Digivices.
put you
That's
could
what they
push
were
them
called.
together and they'd fight each other.
Yeah,
And
that
like
stuff
you
was
could
so
like
cool.
I used those, and I remember in first grade, it was when they came out, and like I would like battle all my friends with them. And I remember that every time like my Digimon died, if I had gotten one that was like basically not gotten the shit one, I would cry because I was so upset that my Digimon died because I was the manliest first grader ever.
Dude, I loved Digimon. Like, Joe was my boy. I loved Joe. And Ikakumon or whatever. I know Ikakumon was like the second one. And then he had like Zabuzamon. I don't know. It was the water one. That guy was cool. I liked him. Everybody liked Ty and like TK and Matt. And I was like, screw those guys. I'm with the nerdy one. Give me the Megane kid.
I remember that I didn't actually like any of them. Like I liked some of the Digimon, but I didn't like any of the characters. I thought they were all annoying. But at the same time, I thought the show was just so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that. Like I thought it was so cool, but I didn't necessarily get attached to any of the characters.
Did you watch any of the seasons after like the first one?
I think I watched the second and third one, and then I think the fourth one is where it got really weird. I can't remember.
The second
since I
one,
haven't
you've got
looked
like
at it.
TK grown up and Kyrie or whatever. She grew up, but you've still got like
Yeah.
Ty in them. And then the third one, I'm trying to remember. You've got, I don't remember the main character's name, but he had like some blue little dinosaur. No, that was the second one. The third one, I think they were in the city and the Digimon were like in the real world. And there was like
Yeah.
some
Yep.
Demi Vmon and like weird stuff going on. Like it was really emotional. It was actually like some deep stuff going on. There was the depressed girl with the puppet. She could only talk. That was creepy, dude. That messed with me. That was like 6th grade.
Yeah, no, I remember that because it was like I can't remember what the name of the Digimon was, but I believe it was like a red. It was
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, he had a red
and,
one.
like,
And
the
then there was the bunny
dinosaur.
one. And then there was the cool like fox one that was a total like hard ass. That was cool. I was into that.
Oh yeah.
That season was good. That was like the adult season of Digimon. They were like, yeah, we're going to make this show for 18 plus. Watch this girl that can only talk through
Yeah.
puppets. You're going to get real depressed.
I'm pretty sure the fourth season was like, and then they went out there.
The fourth one, I didn't even touch it. Like I heard about it and then I watched like an episode of it and I was just like, what is this? Get out of here. At that point, I had already been exposed to Death Note and I was like, I know what real anime is like. And this is not real anime.
I watched like a little bit of Death Note with my brother when they were first dubbing it in English. Like,
Yeah.
granted, obviously, I watch subs now, but I know that when I was a little kid, I was not about to try and read, and because I couldn't. But
Reading's
mostly,
not cool, dude. Especially when you're an alcoholic. Or you keep
Oh, no,
spilling
of course
Hawaiian
not,
punch
dude.
over everything. Like that's all I could do.
I
I,
mean-
was like, eh.
I just tried to learn the words Jack and Daniels,
Yeah.
but once I got that down, I was like, I think I'm good with everything else. Yeah, I actually have a voice to speech, and I just have it read all my subtitles to me. It's good, it's great.
That actually
But,
would be a great invention. I would pay good money for J. Michael Tatum to just read all of the like subs to me, just in his
Yeah, if he
voice.
could just narrate, or just like narrate every single anime. He could just he wouldn't even have to read the subs. He could just tell me what he thinks is going on.
All right, I see
And
this
I'd
girl
be okay
jumping
with
around.
it.
I'd be like, yeah, you tell him. Keep talking.
Oh yeah, she wants the D. Oh no, she doesn't want the. Now she wants the D again.
That's like when you were there for the panel where he talked about how his dad found out that he was gay, right?
Oh yes, that is probably one of the greatest stories I have ever
He is
heard.
such a good storyteller. Oh my gosh.
Like, if I were gay, I would marry J. Michael Tatum. And I remember the first thing I asked him was, if you weren't gay, who would you want to marry? And he like sat for like 30 seconds and was like, that's a really good question. And to be honest, I can't remember the name of the actress, but as far as I'm aware, she was in her 40s to her 50s,
Mhm.
and she wasn't necessarily well known, but she was like, if someone said her name and then you looked, you'd be like, okay, I know who this is.
Mhm.
And he was like, I worked with her one time, and she was like the greatest person ever. And he was just so amazed. He's like, no one's ever asked me that. And I was like, well, that's okay, because if anyone ever asked me, I'd just marry you.
Smooth. No, I don't know. I see this brings us on to our next topic of subs or dubs? And I think we're both in agreement on this. It's subs all the way.
Absolutely. I think that to be an elitist though and suggest that no one should ever watch dubs is a little bit ridiculous. I think that most people are introduced to anime through dubs. I would say that I myself very much prefer subs, but I know that I never would have even considered watching it through subs if I hadn't at least seen the dubs first.
Yeah.
It's just a realistic sense. And I also do think that there are a lot of great dubs out there too.
Bakano.
Sure, they can't necessarily capture the actual Japanese language, but Bakano, yeah, absolutely
Bakano
one
is
of the
the
great
first
dubs
one.
ever.
That's like the first one that should come to mind for anybody, in my opinion, when it comes to, hey, you like dubs? Watch this anime. It's amazing because the dub is perfect because they can actually do accents, like New York accents.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the accents were incredibly well done in the Bakano dub, especially the fact that it's set in America makes it a little bit easier. You know, a lot of times it's weird to have characters speaking in English and to say, I'm about to go take an English class, or to say in my Japanese class, does he speak Japanese while speaking English? Obviously
Yeah, Death
they
Note.
do
I remember like
to
the first scene of
understand.
Death Note. They like ask Light to read a passage or whatever in English, and in the English dub, it's really awkward because they just ask him to read some random stuff, and they're like, "Oh, nice job," and I'm like, "Dude, homeboy just read something in his native tongue. Who cares?" But then when you see it in Japanese, you're like, "Oh, okay."
If my high school was like that, I wouldn't have failed as many classes.
Hey man, can you read something out loud to me in your native tongue? It's like 2 lines long. If you don't sound like an idiot, everybody will clap for you and be like, wow, you're a genius. That's the dub world a lot of times. Now I'm trying to think like what other anime are really good at as far as like dubs go.
If I could live in the dub world.
The dub world. Yo, the dub world. J. Michael Tatum narrates my life. Johnny Young Bosch is your best friend. And Crispin Freeman is like...
I thought Code Geass was good, and I actually thought, even though the Death Note has that odd moment, I thought the voice actors were actually pretty good in the Death Note dub.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I actually really enjoyed the Evangelion dub. And like, I know people will smack talk the dub for that show because Shinji has like one of the most annoying voices. I don't know who is the voice actor for him, but like, it is synonymous for being super annoying. But I still really liked that dub. Just, I don't know why. It's probably because I watched it when I was a kid in English, so it kind of stuck with me, and I was like, oh man, nostalgia up in this bitch.
The dub I can think of off the top of my head that I know is like essentially universally hated is Clannad, and while I do definitely think that the Japanese is absolutely worlds better, I still enjoyed the dub, and it's hard to explain why, because I know people don't like the voice actor for Tomoya, but I don't know why. I just enjoyed it. I thought the opening scene was very well done.
I've only
And
seen the Japanese of
heart-wrenching.
Clannad, and I liked it a lot. I don't know if I could go and watch it in English. It would be tough.
I watched the first episode in English first, and which I think contributes to it for a lot of people, is whichever one they watch first.
Yeah, that'll do it,
Maybe
man.
more accustomed to it, but
I haven't seen a single episode of FMA in Japanese because I'm like, forget that. Vic Mañana. Can't get that voice out of my head.
I think with FMA, that's one that like people just don't even realize that there's a Japanese version because everyone knows of it, and it has Vic Mañana, so people just all watched it in English first. But then again, there are those elitists who are like, nope, I don't like the way Vic does it. I don't like the way this is done. I don't like the way they reworded this, and it's they can't turn it into the Japanese version. It's being dubbed for a reason, and that's so it can be spread to an American audience.
Yeah, dude.
Or
you got to make
English
more money so that you can sell like waifu pillows and stuff of Ed and Al like snuggling up on a pillow with like semen all over them or whatever. Because that's what people are into.
I wish I could sit here and say that was much too vulgar, but the fact of the matter is that knowing the anime fan base, you probably just described like three people's Friday night.
Yeah, it's like, yo, let me hang out with my waifu pillow. And I'm not gonna lie, I would get a waifu pillow. If there was like a not dirty version waifu pillow of Oscar Langley, I would get it. If she like wasn't bent over like spread eagle or something, I would buy it. But sadly, every time I go and look at them at conventions, she's like in the nastiest pose ever, or she's covered in man juices, and I'm not into that.
I'm trying to think who I would have my waifu pillow of if I had.
This is an important question. This like can tell a lot about a man. Who would you get a waifu pillow of?
Ooh, I mean, this is like a life-changing thought here. Like,
Yeah, like who are you willing to get like the most embarrassing otaku item other than like those things that you do the deed with, like those little butt things? You know what I'm talking about. I have no idea what they're called, but like they're in the shape of a character's butt and
oh yeah.
you smang it, you smash it and bang it.
Oh God.
But otherwise, like, yeah, waifu pillow I think is like the most embarrassing thing you can get. It's like, what character are you willing to put your sex life on the line for? Because bringing a girl home to a waifu pillow is not going to be easy to explain. Like, this is my other girlfriend. Hey.
Okay, I'd have to go with probably either Tomoyo from Clannad or Mai from Canon.
Okay.
Definitely.
I can dig it. I can dig both of those. I'm not going to even look them up on the computer because I know I'm not going to get what I want to see. It's going to be bad.
Ooh, I gotta add another one. Shiori too from Canon.
Ooh. Shiori's pretty cute.
I love my big eyes from Key.
Yeah. Because, like, I was at Otakon, like, a month ago or whatever, and I was looking at waifu pillows with some of the people I was hanging out with there, and, like, they were filthy, disgusting waifu pillows, and, like, it was actually really funny the way that they did it, because instead of, like, just putting, like, bars over, like, the nips and the vag, they would put, like, funny stuff, like, on paper. So one of them was just, like, needs additional pylons to see, like, breasts, and then over, like, the vag area, it like, they had quirky stuff over them, so it made it really funny. But I was like, I know that there was one where, like, it was half of her, like, torso was covered. No, it was like her whole torso was covered, and I was like, there's some man juice on that one. That one they can't even show. The other ones, it was like, all right, we got to cover the nips and the lady bits. But this one was just like, no, we can't show any of this. You can see the face. That's all.
And we wonder why people view anime as such a weird fan base.
Dude, like, a lot of stuff is weird. Like, the comic book people are really weird, too. They've got weird stuff. Like, they're into some really weird crap.
A lot of people, though, group us with them, too. Like, I know that I've had a lot of people who, well, I mean, I guess the people listening to this wouldn't know, but our friend Logan, who have heard of our friend like Logan, and then when they find out I'm friends with him because he's into anime and he doesn't really hide it, will say, so are you into like that anime and like those convention things? And they say it with the attitude that shows they clearly don't approve of my lifestyle, as though it's like whether or not you're gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like it's that kind of like lifestyle to them, as though it's different.
It's like,
which,
how dare you?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to me. You know, I don't take it to heart. I don't personally care, but it's definitely the view that it's gotten. And to be honest, rightfully so, from some of the actions people take. I still don't think it's necessarily right to actually assume everyone is like that. But some of the stuff people do would, you know, if I saw it, I probably would assume people, you know, in the fan base were a bit off too. If I, you know,
like
if that was the first thing I saw.
Man. Bronies are like that. Bronies are still getting a bad rap. Bronies get a bad rap from like weebs. Weebs are like, yo, I don't mess with furries. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and it's because the bad parts of all of those fandoms are what come out first. You know, no one's thinking
They're always
of
the loudest. They're louder
Yeah.
than everybody else. The normal people keep to themselves. The weird ones are like, yo, everybody pay attention to me. Oh my god. Look at this.
Yep, like let me wear my
pillows.
Naruto headband with my, you know, unicorn
I want
horn on my
anime
head
Olympics.
to
I
DDR.
want anime Olympics 400-yard Naruto dash. I want it. I want to see it. I want weird looking people doing that. Like, what other events? pillow cuddle. How many waifu pillows can you hold in your arms at once?
Ugh.
I would watch it.
I
I
just
think it
like
would be
cringed on
hilarious.
the inside.
Dude, I gotta make this a thing. I gotta make it happen. Anime Olympics. Yo, let's do this. I'm gonna make this happen after the show. I'm gonna plan it out. I'm gonna like contact some people. It's not gonna be in Detroit. I will take it out of state. But no,
It's
I
in
know what you're
Detroit.
talking about.
We're not gonna make it back from the Olympics.
Yeah, no, you'll Naruto run your ass in here and somebody's gonna kill you. People are gonna be like, you look like an idiot. But no, I mean, like, I totally understand the bad rap that anime gets and stuff like that. Like, at my work, I'm a legal assistant. So, like, I work at a more serious job or whatever. And they're well aware that I do all this, like, weeby anime stuff. And, like, at first, they used to poke fun at me. But now, they're like, oh, I've got a nephew that's into that crap. Can you go to this convention and buy me some stuff? Like, my boss was like, here's $400. Buy my nephew something really cool. If it costs more than that, I'll pay you the difference in cash.
I think that once people stop being afraid of it's kind of what it comes down to, because it's kind of like how being gay was viewed originally. It was like, I don't mind if this is an anime, but
Yo, I lost you there for a second, but it's no big deal. It's cool. You ended on gay, and that's it. That's all I got out of you.
are you serious? You just heard gay?
You were like, it's kind of like how when people were gay, and then it just stopped, which is great, because we're still recording, so it's fine. We're going to move on. Good enough. I like it. I like that ending. It's just gay. That's a great way to end things.
Man, I went on to a lecture into the details of society and its views on homosexuality, and now it's just all gone.
Yeah, dude, globalization, all that crazy like graduate level stuff that I get to look forward to soon. But,
Yeah, I was going to talk about global warming. Like, I'm just so upset now.
Oh, yeah, dude, you're missing out. Next episode.
Next episode, global warming.
Next episode title, Global Warming Incoming. Actually, this one can be titled Global Warming Incoming. The next episode, Global Warming is Here.
Is your backyard warmer than it used to be?
Because mine sure as hell is. Dude, it's hot here. It's really hot in my room. I'm like dying. But on today's episode, we decided, since it's the first episode, we may as well review something that's well known, gives you guys a general idea of what our review style is like, and it gives us a little bit of a buffer between the summer and the fall season so that the fall shows can start to get more information rolling for future episodes for us to do a fall preview, and then we can finally start reviewing some summer shows. So today we're going to be reviewing 5 centimeters per second, which is what I like to tell the ladies that they're going to get from me when I'm doing it with my small wiener.
Well, I have just no comment on that.
That one was on the fly. I thought about making a joke like that a couple days ago, and then it just popped right back into my head right now, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of funny. 5 centimeters.
See, the problem is, if I confirm that, it means that the fan base will think I've seen it, and I just, I'm not willing to go with that yet.
I'm not that comfortable with all the fans yet.
They don't know me that well yet. That's all they know is I'm an alcoholic.
Hey man, I like Hawaiian shirts, but let me give you guys some information about 5 centimeters per second. Basically, if you look up a synopsis for the show, which is really funny, like on my anime list, there's like 2 different synopsises on my anime list, and this is what makes me laugh. The one on the left is just like 5 centimeters per second, and then the title in Japanese, which, excuse me for making this sound terrible, but it's Byosoku 5 centimeter, and then it just says a chain of short stories about their distance, 5 centimeters per second, 5 cm per second. I'm like, what kind of synopsis is that? Actually, I'm not.
Oh, those are synonyms, man.
Oh my god, I'm not wearing my glasses right now. That looks like synopsis.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Don't hate. All right, it was released in 2007. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with the producer, director, sound director, script, storyboard, director of photography, original character design, color design, and art director Makoto Shinkai, who is famous for other works like Garden of Words, which came out after this, but that's another big one that people like. And he's got a bunch of other stuff that's like super popular, but it's all along this same general style. It's released in 3 episodes, which basically follow the same like one character for the most part, and it turns into like an hour and 6-minute long movie, something like that. I think it's a little over an hour. But Keeps, if you want to lay down the synopsis of this show, lay it on me, bro. Throw some fat beats underneath it.
All right. Well, in the show, you've got Tono Takaki, and then you've got Shinohara Akari, and the show generally follows Tono, and it's mostly about him and his life as each one goes on. It's split into 3 episodes, which is, to me, I found very odd, simply because it's intended as one movie, and I get that it is 3 separate stories, but it still almost felt like they could have just continued it on, because there are plenty of movies where they just have time lapses in them. So I thought it was almost kind of cool in a way too, because it's definitely something I honestly hadn't seen before. And the way it starts out is that they're childhood friends, clearly very attached to each other, and sometimes made fun of by the other students, kind of like kids do when they see
Because kids
a
are
boy and a
terrible
girl.
things. Kids are terrible creatures. I hate children. I was a terrible child, all right? I was like a devil when I was a kid. I was not cool.
Yeah, basically the asshole kids are Anton.
Yeah.
And then the angel child being Tono Otaki, that was me. I'm perfect, for those of you guys that don't know. Until he grew up and then became an alcoholic, which, in case you guys didn't know, is actually what happens at the end of the movie, is that Tono becomes an alcoholic.
Yeah, dude, he starts hallucinating and stuff.
Okay, that's not actually true.
No,
but
it's not. But like,
But
let's break
the
this movie
story
up
is
into 3 parts. Let's just do the first part, then the second part, and then the third part. Like, we'll just do it the way that they intended it, because they're weird.
yeah, I like that.
All right, so let's start with the first part. So they're like, how old would you guess?
I'm a pretty bad judge of age, but almost
Like 9?
honestly judging by the way I'd say that, but based on the way the other kids are treating them too.
Yeah, I'd
is
say
that it
like
would be
at the
somewhere around
oldest,
like
they're
8, 9.
11.
Yeah.
Youngest 9, oldest 11. Like, no way that they were older than that. And like, the time period that we're set in, because you brought this up the other day that I didn't even think about, is like they still don't have cell phones, and like technology is pretty back there still a little bit. So it's got to be set, like, I'm gonna say 80s, like early-ish 80s, late 80s, probably more than anything. I'd guess like late 80s.
Yeah, it could even be the early 90s, simply because, as far as I'm aware, even in the early 90s,
Yeah.
cell phones and stuff weren't exactly something that the general public,
All you had
let
was Nokia
alone
phones.
kids their age, had.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
Nokias. That's all you had,
Had
like
bricks.
the bricks. Yeah, the things that you could kill a man with.
You had bricks with speakerphones.
Yeah, but basically, like the beginning part, you've got like Tono and what is their name, Shinohara, and like they move away from each other, or she moves away. She has to move away because her parents suck. I mean, like at that age, everybody sucks, especially your parents, and that lasts up until you're about like 16, 17. Your parents are gonna suck. And
Yeah, yep.
so she moves away, and he's like depressed, and she's depressed, and there's letters being written back and forth, and it's really cute and like really sad. And he's on this journey to like come back and see her, and he's like, I'm gonna visit you because I'm moving now. And I'm just like, really? Everybody's moving lately. This is just terrible. And she's like, one thing that was weird to me, she was like, I hope when you come and visit that the cherry blossoms are falling. And when he goes to visit, it's snowing. I'm like, what kind of crack are you on, homegirl? Where you're like in this warped world where you think the cherry blossoms are going to start falling. I don't know if maybe like she was assuming that he would visit her
I thought
at
that
a
was
later
a little
date.
bit odd.
Yeah, maybe it's implied that
Yeah.
like suddenly he has to move, so he has to see her sooner than he intended. But they didn't explicitly say that.
I think it was desperation that his visit, especially being in snow. I thought it was a little weird, which I don't think this is very much spoilers, but that he's having issues getting there, sort of like in a late sense, like he's not on time, but he clearly didn't plan for this, being that there was, tons of snow. So I guess to me it was like almost an act of desperation to try and get there. Kind of like what would happen.
Bro, you're roboting out on me. You can't do this to me, man. Oh, dude, you're like a robot.
I needed to. Fuck.
Oh, dude, I love the robot noises. It's so good.
Can we just restart that part?
You don't have to restart, baby. It's okay. Everybody loves you. You're just roboting out on me. Check your internets.
Well, now it's too late.
Dude.
No, man. No, this.
Dude, don't worry about it. I ain't even mad, though. There was all...
Are you actually going to put that in there?
Yeah. Don't be such a sugar puss. You said the most important words. Snow, train, get there. What else does anybody need to know about this show? There was snow.
There's a snow and there's a train, and...
He's got to get there.
The train goes choo-choo.
Yeah, dude. Choo-choo. But, I mean, like, is it spoiler? This is, like, way old. This show is... This came out 7 years ago. It's not spoilers anymore. I think anything that's, like, 2 years old, that's not spoilers anymore. I'm sure everybody has seen this. So, like, I'm not spoiling anything if I let you know what happens towards the end of the thing. Because he finally gets there. Homegirl is waiting for him. And he's like, oh, let's eat some food in this train station. And, like, the train attendant's like, yeah, man, that's cool with me. Until he's got to close. In which case he's like, you little shit's got to go. Stop eating your little bento boxes with your hot dogs cut to look like octopuses or whatever. Which I wish I had somebody that would make me a bento box with an octopus hot dog. I would destroy that. I would love you forever. But
my ex-girlfriend did that. It tastes the same. It's really disappointing after you get by it too, because then you're just like, well, I thought it would taste better, and now that I know it doesn't, it won't look as good anymore, even in anime.
Why you gotta crush my dreams like that, man? I was waiting to find like a girlfriend that would do
something.
Look,
Look, my dreams were crushed, okay? I have to crush everybody else's too. If I can't have it, nobody can.
All right, well, either way, this little kid and his little girlfriend thing, they finally meet up, and they embrace, and like it's super cute. Like, I shed a tear the first time I watched this. Mind you guys, this is my second time watching this. This is Keep's first time watching it. And I shed a tear again when they like kissed underneath the tree, because that was super sweet and super cute. And I was like, yo, this gives me some feels. It might be because I'm still emotionally compromised lately, but it hit me right in the feels. And I was like, that's some sad stuff right there. And y'all are super cute. And then I remembered, oh, I know what happens next. They get freaky in the shack, which Keeps thinks they don't get freaky in the shack. But like we mentioned earlier in the show, if you go into someplace and you're alone with a girl and then it just either fades to black or it tells you that you spent the night playing cards, you definitely shagged in the shack.
See, I don't think they did solely because I did not even see a set of playing cards there, which clearly means that they didn't have sex.
Yeah, because you can't give me that BS that it's like, oh, dude, you can't get a boner before you're like 13. No, dude, I was popping boners when I was like 7. I was probably popping boners before then. You don't want to hear about that. That's like child porn. That's some CP up in this bitch. But
there are kids like listening to this podcast right now.
No, there are not. I'm going to flag this thing as explicit. Are you kidding me? Hell no.
This is that kind of podcast?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my boxers off.
Dude, it's like I'm naked over here. It's hot. I mentioned it's hot. And you and me both like to sit in our computer chairs like in the buff.
This is true. I am actually in my boxers right now, in case anyone listening was wondering.
Yo.
But when I'm at home, I'm basically always in my boxers.
Same. Like, this is the
my
privacy
dogs are
of my
actually
home.
naked right now, too. They joined in on it.
Yeah, dude, dogs. I took their diapers off of them because you're one of those weird people. But, no, I mean, like, that happens, and, like, it's sad, and I get it. But still, I was just like, man, I want something more. And then you get to the second part of this show, which is like, so angsty. Because now it stops really following Tono. It starts following, what's her name? I got it written down here. Sumida. And like,
I was kind of thrown for a loop. I honestly thought, like, having not watched this before, I honestly thought it was almost a separate story for a second because I wanted to watch this and get like the full experience. I didn't do any prior reading. I had heard the name before, but I didn't I never like fully looked into it. So at first I was a little bit confused, and I was like, okay, so is that the end of the story? Because I was like, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's following this girl, and and she's going to see, and she sees, a guy doing archery, and I'm like, oh, yep, there we go. Okay, so we're still going here, and I was like, okay, so maybe this is going to be from her point of view, and
Mm-hmm.
which it was. But I was kind of thrown for a loop, and I thought it was pretty cool. So, and then with that, I can kind of see why they'd split it up into episodes, because it changes like the view you're seeing, you
Yeah.
know.
You want to know how tired I was when I took these notes now that I'm looking at them? Because I haven't looked at these since I made it. I wrote down like the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and some squigglies all over the place. But for the second part, I literally wrote down their names, and then I wrote the word archery, surfing, NASDA, unsure of career, 5 kilometers per second, and messages to nobody. Those were all of my notes. I was like, yeah, I'm taking notes.
I thought you were gonna say something like, I drew that, and then all of a sudden there's just a picture of an animal here.
No, because I remember one of the main things that stuck out to me is like during the second episode, you're introduced to like their hobbies. Obviously, like Keeps mentioned, our main character, well, our former main character is really into archery. We've got Sumida who's really into surfing, and like she's unsure of her career. She wants to know what to do with her life, but the only thing she's sure of is that she's in love with Tono-kun. And I'm just like, yo, this is some creepy stalker stuff. And like her older sister's totally cool with it. She's like, yeah, no big deal. Don't worry about her. She'll figure her life out. It's not creepy at all that she's like really into this guy and probably gonna like wear his skin. And they talk about like rockets going off, and it's really pretty. Like his one dream where he's with the girl and he sees like the moon in the foreground or whatever, like that's beautiful. This anime is beautiful.
Absolutely.
The characters look like crap, but everything else is beautiful. Like I could care less about the character, and I think that's the point. You're supposed to pay attention to like everything around you, and I think that has something to do with the plot of the anime. Is like stop focusing on yourself so much and focus on everything around you, and then come back to yourself a little bit, and everything will be easier. Like I think that was one of the underlying things that they were trying to talk about, and I think that's one of the things he's always trying to talk about. Is like look at the beauty of everything that's around you, and then take in the beauty that's within yourself.
I have to agree, and I thought it was interesting because you touched on honestly just how obsessed this girl was with him.
It was creepy.
And I have to say that, a lot of times, in anime they will represent some sort of like childish love unrealistically, but I thought that the way they went about it actually kind of was realistic. I can think when I think back to that age, I can definitely think of people who would do things like that. When somebody gets a crush, they start doing things like hanging out where they know they're going to walk and pretending, they just happen to be walking there. So I thought it was kind of cool.
It was an accurate representation. I totally agree.
I thought it was a little bit weird, the sister's reaction, but at the same time, I do agree that sometimes when you see somebody, acting like that, there is nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is to let it play out. Which I do feel happens at the end there. When she realizes that he's not looking at her.
Yeah, he's looking beyond her. He's looking somewhere else, and like he's sending those text messages. She's so worried about these texts. She's like, "Why won't he text me?" And it turns out he's texting nobody. He's literally sending texts to no one.
Right, and she moves on. At this point, I believe, and that's when I start. Well,
yeah, third episode. We'll get back to that.
But that was kind of where I was looking, was like you have this one character so obsessed, and the whole point of this second arc, so to speak, is her figuring out that her love, this thing she spent so much time thinking about, just isn't going to happen. And then as she comes to accept that.
Also, the awesome snippet of, yo, rocket ships go at 5 kilometers per second. I was like, yeah, that's not cheesy at all.
I'm sorry, I just got Rocket Man.
What? A Rocket Man?
Rocket Man! This should have been the theme song for this,
No.
part.
Sky rockets in flight. Pew. Afternoon delight. Boo. That would have been a great theme song for this show.
Can we edit this in to some of it? Like this is going to be a project outside of this podcast.
I mean, like, I can put it on... no, I mean... That's illegal as hell. I can put like I think the most you're allowed to use, if the laws are still the same as when I worked in radio, I can use like 15 seconds of that song without it being super illegal.
Okay,
But
so we'll just switch songs.
yeah.
We're gonna make this work. We're gonna make like a montage.
Yeah, underneath everything that we're
everything
talking
needs a
right now,
montage.
like right now, it'll basically be playing that song. And you guys will still hear us, but that'll be playing too. But between the first and the second episode, before we even get to the third episode, which one did you like better?
Oh, are you speaking of all three, or
No,
between the
just
second? and
between
third?
the first one and the second one. We'll get to the third one. We'll bring the third one in.
Um, I'd have to say I like the second one.
I like the
Second
second one
one.
too because like I think it's hard for us to relate to the first one because they are so young and everything that happens just seems so like, man, I can't even remember what I was like when I was their age. Like, I don't know what I was up to. But like at this age, 13, 14, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what was going on because that was only what? Like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, like 9 years ago. So I can still remember how weird I was at that age. And I was like, yeah, this kind of stuff was going on. Like there was that weird, like, oh my God, I fell in love with this girl. And like, what do I do now? And then like there was relationships where people would fall in love with another person and then they couldn't stop obsessing over them. This was normal at that age. So I could relate more to it, which was great, which made me enjoy it even more.
I felt that it was not only relatable, but also that being the first, 20 minutes of the movie, they're trying to set it up, and then the second part they're kind of going with it, like, you realize once she sees him, perform archery, you're like, okay, so this is what he's doing now. What else is different? It gets you that interest of like, okay, so what's changed now? Whereas the first part, you're just seeing what the characters were like as kids, and then they've already set that up, and then you get to see that the characters have changed, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So what's different about them? And then
And you want to know what's
and
up with that girl from the first part. You're like, where's she? I want to see her. What happened to her?
yeah, you're like, is she still thinking about him? Or is she doing this?
Yeah.
Does she live a life? Because honestly, it seems obsessive the way they view each other in the first part, and it really is.
Yeah, I mean, like they are so in love with each other because that's all they had. Like they even say it in the first episode. They like couldn't make friends with anybody else, but they made friends with each other.
Right.
But I mean,
So it's like, to see these characters they had to change, they're not near each other, and then years have gone by, they had to have changed in some way, and it's like, okay, so what happened?
yeah, which leads us into the third episode, which was really cool, I thought, at least, because it was like super adult, like very adult. This show like goes through stages where it's like, here's your entry level like child kind of stuff that like a kid could watch and get into. Here's something that more a teenager would like appreciate, and then the last one, it's like, yo, if you're an adult, you totally understand where all these characters are coming from. So in the third episode, we've got all three of the characters now. We've got the two girls and our MC. And main character is like programmer, something like that, lives in an apartment by himself, smokes a lot, drinks a lot, doesn't really do much except for he's got like a really repetitive life. You've got the original girl, Akari Shinohara. I called her a whore. No, Shinohara. She's getting married. She's like engaged or whatever. And then you've got the third girl, Sumida, who's like super creepy now. She has gone off the deep end. And I was just like, this is what I like to see. I'm all about this. She's like calling him, leaving him messages all the time, and they show her like freaking out at work, like trying to hide her cell phone, make a phone call to him. She's like sending him all these text messages, like, we really need to talk and all this stuff. And I was like, this is real life. This is actually what happens, because he talks about it. They date for like 3 or 4 years, and sometimes you get so attached to a person after dating for so long, you don't know how to live without them because you just get used to it. You could make somebody live with somebody else, like even if they weren't in love with them, you just kind of get used to people. And so she just got so used to him that she just goes off the deep end. And then you've got the main character like walking past the train and saying like, if I turned around now, I know she would turn around too. And he's talking about the original girl, Shinohara. And it's just like, oh, this is so real life. Like people move on and they like get real lives and real jobs, and people end up getting married, and you're like, damn it, what could have been if things would have played out differently. And like sometimes you settle, like he settled obviously for Sumida. He just wanted to fill that gap. Like he wanted to feel loved by somebody, but obviously it wasn't enough. And it kind of is reflected in the fact that he quits his job too. He's like, I'm done with this, man. But it was so good, so adult.
Was it actually Samita who was his girlfriend? Because I thought it was just a
She
random
had different
girl.
color hair, but I'm almost 100% sure it was supposed to be her.
I thought it was a random. Are you sure?
I mean, I think it's implied to be her because she was like obsessive over him earlier in life, so it would make sense for him to like end up going out with her because she wanted to
I
follow him
was
for
just
school. I mean, it could have been a random girl, but I had a feeling that it was her just because like the obsessive tendencies carried over.
Oh yeah, I mean I could get how it could be too. I was just not sure. And I mean I thought it was cool because obviously the point of that is that he still is thinking about Akari, but she's moved on. I viewed it as him still like, he's still this whole time he's thinking in the back of his mind his end goal is to be with her. And she's moved on but still thinks about it, what could have been. And I think, to me the whole point of this third part is that he missed out on living a life that he could enjoy because he was so concerned with a different life that he thought he would enjoy.
Yeah.
When realistically you never know what's going to happen. For all we know, he could have finally found her and she's a completely different person and he doesn't like her.
Yeah.
But he spent so much time thinking about what could have been, he didn't see what was. And I think that's kind of, the point of the movie is that, if you get so caught up in, momentary thoughts or what you think could happen but don't know, then you'll miss out on what's going on in the moment. And I think that's kind of the point, is just enjoy the moment, which is, it's hard. It's hard to stay in the moment in life and to think about what's going on now and to not be thinking about this is what I want in the future. But, the idea is, what's the point anyways if you just don't enjoy life as it is, if you're always thinking about what's going to be tomorrow or what's going to be the next day.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the show. It's like pay attention to everything that's around you and like what's immediately going on with you right now. Don't think about the past, don't think about the future, just live in the now.
Right, and it's kind of like, I thought it was interesting because it's like she did, at some point she clearly got that. And it's not that she didn't question it, because everyone will at some point question decisions they made and think, could I have been happier if I did this?
She
it's
like
not realistic.
Isn't she on the train and she's like, I wonder what he's up to now or something? She says something to that sort of.
Yeah.
Like, she says something like that. I don't remember the exact quote, but like even she's curious.
Yeah, but she's not. But at the same time, she's not curious to the point where he was. She thinks about it like anyone does. A lot of people think about, I wonder where my ex is right now.
I think about girls I broke up with like 6 years ago. I'm like, I wonder what they're doing now. And then I find out that some of them are pregnant, and I'm like, yo, that was a good thing I got away from that.
Exactly. I mean, I mean, it's different in ending as that is. You think about it, but it's a passing thought.
Yeah.
And when and here he's thinking about it, obsessing over it, thinking, this is what should be. Wherever she is right now isn't where she should be. She should be right here. And she's just thinking, oh, I wonder what happened. And she's actually living. He's just going through the motions, working to work, and he doesn't enjoy his life. And he basically says it, and at the end, he quits his job and tries to change it,
Yeah.
But it took him so much longer than it took her.
Yeah. Update on the creepy dark-haired girl. She is a separate character. Her name is Arisa Mizuno, and apparently her and Takaki met in Tokyo. They met a couple of times due to work, and due to their work, which was like common, I guess. This is really poorly worded on my anime list. It's like broken English. But they started to go out after a while. And in the movies, it seems like Risa and Takaki were together for a while. And she starts sending him text messages, inviting him to hang out. But Takaki would never reply because he still had feelings for Akari. But it says in the manga and the light novel, it was explored way more, like this whole entire plot. And they dated for like 4 years and went on several trips and dates together. And besides her point to move forward with their relationship, they just stayed the same. And like she tried and get him to meet her parents, and he turned her down because, like, you know, in Japan, it's like once you meet the parents, it's done. You're married. They'll put a katana to your throat or something, I'm sure. I don't know. They'll do something weird.
I'm not going to Japan anymore.
Yeah, but I guess, like, in the end, I don't know. That's, like, too spoiler. I'm not even going to read that part. I wish I didn't read that part. I would have read the manga if I didn't know that, but ruined it for myself. Oops. But still, yeah, they did it for, like, 4 years. I don't know. But, like, I guess it also might be because of where we are in our lives right now. Like, I don't know if you're comfortable revealing your age, but, like, I'm 22.
I, too, am 22.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm satisfied with where I'm at, but I thought it was relatable because even though these, I know that in Japan a lot of times people either go to school or they do go out into the workforce and end up in positions like that. But I thought it was interesting because it's viewing it as you have two people who felt the exact same way, but ended up taking it in two different directions. You have one person who obsesses over it and considers no other option in his life, thinking that there's always going to be one end goal. And then you have one person who, realizes that as much as they'd like that they have to move on and does. I viewed it as even though she did love him at that one point, that she moved on and was able to love somebody else because he clearly tried, and he tried and he couldn't meet her parents. And, I guess it could be interpreted either way, her getting married, it could be maybe she still has those feelings. But I think that in a way, because he turns down marriage and she doesn't, that it is.
Yeah, it's like he's not ready, moving on, but she's ready.
She is.
Yeah, it shows that, like, people kind of grow up differently. Like we mentioned our one friend earlier, he's awesome. He's really great, but he's not as grown up as some of our friends who are the same age as him. He's a year older than us. And it's just kind of one of those things where, like, I bring it back. I apply a lot of times when I watch an anime, I'm like, how can I relate this to my real life? Those are my favorite anime, are the ones that are really relatable for me. So, like, this one was really good for me rewatching it, I guess, because I just got out of a really long relationship back in July. And I'm like, yo, I don't know if I'm ready to move on, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I picked up a lot of hobbies. I started hanging out with my friends again more often. And then I, like, watched this anime and I was like, man, this reminds me that, like, I really need to focus on me and, like, what's going on around me and just worry about now, because, like, I'm freaking out about graduating and, like, finding jobs and, like, school. And I was like, man, this anime was, like, just what I needed, because it just shows that it's not wrong to have trouble moving on, but it's also not wrong to move on. Like, you can't get mad at the other party for moving on, and you shouldn't be mad at yourself and feel like you suck or something because you weren't able to move on or whatever. And I was like, I'm all about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it represents life fairly well in that, a lot of times in that situation, if you feel like, you both acknowledge that you like each other but never truly got to explore a relationship, you're always thinking, is it fair to the other person if I move on? But then, it's acknowledging, is it fair to yourself if you don't?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, you got to know your priorities. Do you prioritize yourself or the other person? And really, you should always be prioritizing yourself. You should always come first, especially at that point in their lives.
I think the way it's viewed is that if you don't prioritize yourself, how can you really fulfill whatever the other person is desiring? Because if you look at it, the situation he's in at the end, before he decides to quit his job and move on with his life, I don't necessarily think that'd be somebody that Akari would want.
Yeah.
It comes down to it as, did you just live thinking that if you all of a sudden found her, your life would be complete? Because, the fact of the matter is that the other person still has to want you.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that the person he is somebody she'd want. Mm-hmm. Even if she did, because obviously she moved on, but had she, somehow connected with him and had the choice, who's to say she wouldn't pick the person that she was marrying anyways, because the fact of the matter is that he clearly isn't enjoying life, and no, people always say they don't want to be around negative people. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to it, if I think a message too is, if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to take care of anyone else.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard. I obviously I haven't been in a relationship in, almost a year and a half, but I do remember that time where I couldn't move on, and I was thinking about what could have been, and as a result, I couldn't enjoy life as it was happening. And I think the message of this movie is so global. It's like in terms of aspects of life that, it's not just speaking about relationships, it's talking about life in general. It's not just should you or should you not get into a relationship. It's you, like, can you stay in the now? It could be job opportunities too. It could be, viewing one job opportunity as the be all end all when you're missing out on another job opportunity that, had you actually explored, you would have enjoyed more. It's saying look at the whole picture, at just living a life where you're reasonably happy rather than trying to assume that there's only one way to live. And as a result, being unhappy because of it.
Yeah. All right.
That's
I think
my
that's a
life lecture.
bomb-ass review. So, first off, would you recommend this show? Just at face value, yes or no, would you recommend the show? And if so, to who?
Absolutely. And I would recommend it to people who are willing to view a show and look at more than what happens at face value. Because I think that anyone who just watches this and sees how it ends would just be disappointed because it's not their fairy tale love story. So I think that anyone who is willing to watch a show and to take more from it than what you see directly on the screen and in each frame would absolutely enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to say that I too would recommend this show for the same reasons as you. Now, how many fake-ass heart-shaped cherry blossoms would you give this show out of 10?
Ooh. Did you say heart-shaped cherry
'cause
blossom?
at one point there was a heart-shaped cherry blossom that falls on his hand when he's using a Logicool mouse in the third episode, which stuck out to me because I was like, that's really stupid, and I hate it. I'm like, heart-shaped cherry blossom is like the four-leaf clover of white people stuff. It doesn't exist, but they put it everywhere.
Ooh, let's see. Because that changes it out of 10. I'm just trying to make sure I still give a good rating out of 10, but don't change it solely because they're heart-shaped cherry blossoms.
Yeah, man, them fake-ass heart-shaped
Because
cherry
that would
blossoms.
up it regardless. Like, if I get to give...
Oh, bro.
If I get blossoms, like, I would just give everybody 10 because that's life.
Yeah. All right. Well, see, I personally would give this show... I'd give it between like an 8 and an 8.5. Easily.
I probably was going to go 8, realistically. Absolutely 8, which I think is a good number. If I were to say a show is good, where I would still be suggesting it, it would probably be 7 and up, or would be shows I'd be willing to suggest.
Yeah, anything
people.
above a
So
7 is like good in my book. You might even be able to dip into 6.5 if it's a funny show. But like something serious like this, it's got to be above like a 7.
Yeah, because I'm looking at enjoyment factors. It's like, obviously, any show I recommend, the whole point of watching a show is that you have to enjoy it. But then when there's a show where you're looking for something more than just, does it make me giggle?
Yeah.
And let's look, it 7 and above.
Yeah. All right.
8,
While
yeah,
you're
I think
roboting
it's-
out on me,
I think
I'm going to
8,
say
yeah.
that we're going to go to the news, and we'll be right back. This is Anton bringing you your anime and convention news for the week of August 30th. Funimation Entertainment announced on Friday that it will simulcast the One Piece 3D2Y Ace no Shi wo Kote Luffy Nakama to no Chikai Overcome Ace's Death, The Oath of Luffy's Crewmates television special. The 2-hour special will stream at midnight EDT on Sunday, August 31st. The episode takes place during the 2-year training period that the Straw Hat crew took during the series and will focus on the code 3D2Y that Luffy's crewmates must decipher. Character sketches for the last Naruto the movie have been revealed. Sketches for Gaara, Tamari, Tenten, and Choji have all been unveiled. All the characters look to have aged somewhat, and Tamari is looking especially sexy. We can also note that Gaara now carries a smaller, more compact gourd since, that's more fashionable. Free Eternal Summer will be getting an unaired episode on the Blu-ray DVD release that is coming up for the show. The Blu-ray and DVD volume of the series is scheduled to ship on March 18th, 2015, so make sure you get super excited for that, all of you free sexy boy Muslim men lovers. Not so much anime news, but still news to be covered. Kuroko no Basuke will be coming to an end in the next chapter release of Shonen Jump, dated for September 1st. Sports anime and manga lovers alike, I'm sure, will take to the internet with tears of both joy and sadness. How do you feel about the series as of late? I personally think this final game has been a bit lackluster, but maybe that's just me. Now on to your convention news. As all of you know, Dragon Con will be taking place this weekend in Atlanta, Georgia. The convention itself pulls more than 57,000 attendees, and these attendees come from all sorts of fandoms. With so many famous guests, I can't even think about listing them all off. I'm sure we'll hear some fun and interesting news about it in the next week. PAX Prime will be taking place in Seattle, Washington this weekend. There are sure to be tons of awesome games to take for a spin on the show floor, and loads of announcements for upcoming releases throughout the weekend. To the north, we have Fan Expo Canada taking place in Toronto, Ontario. Fan Expo Canada is an annual multi-genre fan convention. The attendance in 2012 was 91,000, so I can only imagine this year will be a hoot. A boatload of cosplayers and the like will be attending, and I'll be keeping an eye on my Facebook and Twitter feeds for those awesome pictures. Looking at you, Pure Blind Cosplay. Swoons! This has been your news for the week of August 30th, 2015. We'll be back with the show in just a moment.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Alright, good. I think I still got like half of this fifth left.
And with that, that brings us to the end of this show. I hope you guys enjoyed us talking about anime, our lives, emotional stuff, ex-girlfriends, the real world, and other stupid crap. But this is the best time to plug where you guys can find us. We are on Twitter and Facebook. It's twitter.com/AC podcast and facebook.com/anime cafe podcast. And you can also email us at animecafepodcast@gmail.com if you guys want us to answer any questions on the show, if you have any requests for shows that you want us to review, something stupid, something funny. I'm even willing to do like hentai episodes once in a while just to be hilarious. Only once in a while.
Suggestions.
Yeah,
alcohol suggestions.
Yeah, alcohol suggestions. But anything like that, or any suggestions for the show, anything like that is cool with me. We'll check those. I'll check it frequently. Same with the social media. It's all linked to my phone. So you can get a hold of us there. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at twitter.com/Mantuan Addison. It's Mantuan, M-A-T. I'm spelling my real last name. I don't want to give you my real last name. It's MANTWONATISON. It's where you can find me on Twitter. You can tweet at me and be like, yo, you suck. I hate you. And I'll be like, I'm prettier than you. Get away from me.
You are very pretty. I approve.
I'm a good looking guy. But yeah, those are the best places to get a hold of us if you want to say something or if you want to shout out on the show, let us know. Anything like that, it's totally cool with us. Starting next week, just to give you guys an idea of what's going to be going on with the show for the next couple of weeks, because it's a little bit of a weird time to start the show. Next week and the week after, most likely, we'll be doing the fall preview. We'll be talking about the shows coming up in the fall, and we'll be establishing some of the shows that we're going to be reviewing from the summer. And also, we're going to be bringing on our novice anime co-host, Fuzzy, who will be coming on the show once every 4 to 6 weeks, and he's going to be giving his impression along with us on a show. So that'll be fun, since me and Kepes are pros, and Fuzzy has seen, like, what, FMA?
Yeah, it's basically like an amateur kind of view on a show, like almost in a way that he would be looking at something solely from a non-anime perspective. You know, watching something just as it is. When Anton and I view something, it's from the perspective that we have seen anime previously and can compare it to anime as a medium, where he's just viewing it as, did I or did I not enjoy this?
Dude, Homeboy didn't even understand how anime seasons worked. That took me like a half hour to explain to him, because he's like, why isn't it like white people TV? And I'm like, because Japanese television actually makes sense and they have guidelines.
I thought that was funny solely because that is actually the one thing that does not make sense in America, is the way we do. Like, they just air shows whenever they want.
Yeah, and
which
then we
I don't
take
think
breaks.
is a big deal, but his view was just so funny to me. It was like,
It was
how come
really
they don't
hard.
just air shit whenever they want?
It was really hard for him to wrap his head around it, and I was like, man,
Wait, they have like a schedule?
dude, they actually end shows like at a normal time. They don't take breaks in the middle of the season. No, dude,
That's
this
so
is
stupid.
yeah, like The Walking Dead. Yo, let's take like 3 weeks off. No big deal.
And it was just funny because he was like amazed that they would organize something, but that was just such a ludicrous thought to him.
Yeah. All right. Well, Keeps, do you have any requests on some ending music to end the show on? Because I don't know what to end this with. It could be the most ridiculous theme song you could think of, and I'd play it. You could even pick what was that one song from Klana, the one that everybody like, Pongo or whatever. Pongo.
Can we do the Dongo song with
Yeah, the
Busta
Dongo.
Rhymes?
Oh, dude, I can play that. Yeah. All right. Well, my name's Anton. His name's Keeps. What are you, Keeps?
I am an alcoholic.
And I like Hawaiian Punch. And we'll see you guys next weekend with some more of this anime cafe. Bitches.
Word mother,
Uh.
check it out, yo. Just swing to the left, swing to the right. Make you feel good, make you feel alright. One time, feel good, yeah, y'all. Bust around in the place, y'all. Nigga, you feel real good, y'all. Flip mode, squad in the place, y'all. Buck wild to all of my niggas who don't care. Floss like a bunch of young black millionaires. Making you run, me and my done stacking my ones. Floss a little, invest up in the mutual one. Flowing the